Good morning, lovers and followers of the Kenyan Daily Report. Now, one cabinet secretary, Aden Duale, was recently chosen as the cabinet secretary of health after being moved from the docket of environment and taking up the role as the cabinet secretary of uh, taking up as the cabinet secretary of health in the country. A very fragile and very volatile docket as of right now. Now, a lot of things have been said, but we have been trying to pinpoint factors that really would have suggested Ruto to use his sixth sense or his five common senses as the president of the Republic of Kenya to determine whether Duale was fit to run the docket of health in the country. And let me tell you, what we have unfolded after digging deep into this matter will absolutely shock you. Remember, before becoming the cabinet secretary of health, Duale was the cabinet secretary of environment. Before environment, he was the cabinet secretary of defense. Now, this man, in a period of 2.5 years, he has been moved in around three decades. And the question is, President William Ruto has been trying so much to maintain Duale in his cabinet. Now, why is he doing so? Are there no any other technocrats or experienced people in these fields that he is deploying his politicians to run? But one thing that you will understand after this video is that Duale and President William Ruto are conjoined twins in the health business and in the health docket ministry. And there is no way they are going to part ways due to your cries that Sha is not working, that Shif is not working, and what have you, because they have a business interest to secure. Back in the year 2024, in August, an article was publicized, and this article was brought to us by one and only Maverick Aoko, one of the most resourceful and uh, let me say one of the most certified political bloggers in the 254. Now, in the said article in August last year, which was on August 4th, 2024, Maverick Aoko tweeted, Duale and his brother imported expired drugs from Dubai. They avoid taxes at Mombasa port, use Somali ports. When he was CS defense, he used military vehicles to transport these drugs zikishuka Somalia to Kenya, package at industrial area, Medina, then sell to your pharmacies, Nimelia. That was the tweet that Aoko publicized back then. Now, following the series of tweets, Aoko alleging involvement of former Defense Cabinet Secretary and now the health CS led us to dig deeper into the matter to connect the dots. Only EACC, the Ethics and Corruption Commission, or DCI, can confirm and convict the culprit for us. Going forward, Duale is also connected to a charcoal and sugar smuggling web through Somalia. As alleged, now he is the other. I mean, last 7 months, he has been the cabinet secretary of forest. I mean, of environment in the country. In 2015, Duale's company won 400 million 400 million Kenyan shillings contract by a geothermal company. Now, the two companies were associated with him, the companies that won this tender. They were associated with him when he was the majority leader in the National Assembly, and they were awarded two contracts worth 400 million by geothermal development company GDC, whose top managers were then being investigated by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission (EACC). Concordia Building and Civil Engineering Limited and Nomad Palace Hotel Limited were awarded the tenders at the time when the Parliamentary Committee on Legal Affairs, chaired by Aina Ainakoi MP Samuel Chepkonga, had put pressure on EACC to investigate GDC, and its managing director Silas Simiyu was later suspended over inflated cost of transportation of power plant equipment to the tune of 1.7 billion Kenyan shillings. Now, before the issue landed before the Legal Affairs Committee, EACC had initiated investigations to establish how GDC offered bona fide clearing and forwarding a contract in 2012 to move geothermal rings and other equipment in 40 lots, with each costing 42 million Kenyan shillings within a distance of 11 kilometers, bringing the worth of the entire deal to a 1.7 billion. Mr. Simiyu also appeared in President Uhuru Kenyatta's list of shame in March that year, and investigations against him going on. GDC is a parastatal under the Ministry of Energy. It is the Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir then who was also suspended over separate corruption allegations. Now Chirchir, a CS nominee, is currently running roads. According to the document that was seen, Concordia Building and Civil Engineering Limited and Nomad Palace Hotel were awarded the contracts on the same day. Now, their contracts with GDC were dated August 4th, 2014, to partition a GDC office and supply food to the corporation. The two companies share post office address 126 Garissa. Concordia Certificates of Incorporation is NDC 144127, given by SMDC for the Registrar of Companies. Now, that is the company affiliated to Duale that was linked to two companies linked to Duale that won over 4 million Kenyan shillings. Teda. Now back to these allegations that were put out in August last year. The allegations directly pointed to Duale and his brother. The both of them were alleged to be smuggling expired drugs from Dubai through Somalia, and then the drugs would then be transported to Kenya. Apart from that, this man Duale, a company affiliated to him, where he was the major shareholder together with the son of President William Ruto, Nick Ruto. Last year in September, Duale's company, together with other two companies that included Safaricom and a company called Payroll, won the 104 billion tender, shift tender of digitization of the healthcare system. Are we together? Now, the company affiliated to Duale was called Convergence, and it's still one of the companies that are said to be benefiting directly from the 104 billion Kenyan shillings that were awarded to these companies for the digitization of healthcare system through Shif. Now, through all this, for the last few months that Shif and Sha have been in play, a lot of dissatisfaction has been expressed by different people all over the country, more so Kenyans, and even fellow politicians to Aden Duale, including the president himself, has said that Shif and Shah are not working to their perfection, but they are still working on a process to make sure that these things work to their level best. Are we together? Now, this became the talk of the town in a certain way. Because when you look at it in a broader picture, Duale and his companies, which have been involved in these rings, and I mean these smuggling rings and the healthcare system at large, tells you that, let me tell you, if these drugs were being transported, were being smuggled into the country, These drugs were being sold to us in different pharmacies here in the country, and even they were sold to KEMSA, the body that is involved with acquiring drugs for public hospitals in the country. Apart from that, the company Convergence, which is directly linked to Shif Sha, was one of the three companies that won the tender of the 104 billion, is affiliated to Duale. Now tell me how Duale will become a better person he will work for the sake of seeing the systems that have not been working under Shah and Shif going through the right direction. We expected, as President William Ruto has been trying to maneuver through every handles to make sure that things are working for the healthcare system, because it has become a bone of contention in the country that the healthcare system, which is one of the most key dockets that shouldn't be meddled around with and shouldn't be used for business purposes. These dockets should be used not to enrich somebody, but to make sure that the people of this republic get the right medical attention. Why is it that Duale is being given this docket, yet there are scandals that have been involved with him, scandals that have tainted him as a man? That does not mean good for the health care of the people of this republic. Hmm? I tell you, the president is also in business with Aden Duale. They have been doing a lot of things under wraps, including Duale helping the president make sure that they register so many aliens who are crossing into Kenya from Ethiopia, from Sudan, from Somaliland, from Somalia, from Burundi, to make sure that they acquire ID cards so that they will get voters' cards to vote for President William Ruto as the President of the Republic of Kenya come the year 2027. So there is no way on earth that Kenyans are going to get better service delivery from this man, because he is there to tame the naysayers. A dictator that he is there to make sure that nobody again ever criticizes the government for not delivering on the healthcare system. They are all comparing their regime to that of the former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. But one thing Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta never did was to use politicians for his own benefit. One thing with Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta in terms of health docket, the man acquired technocrats, people that have experience in working as civil servants, not politicians. Are we together? And that is why it is becoming hard for Kenyans to believe that Duale has been put there for the purpose of making sure that the health care or the health docket runs smoothly in this country for the benefit of the people of the republic. He is there just to secure his own interest. Remember, his companies are selling drugs all over the country. Selling medicines to different pharmacies, to different hospitals, private hospitals to say so. They're selling them to these hospitals. So there is nobody who will investigate somebody. You can't go ahead poking your nose into your boss's businesses. Are we together? Something is company convergence. There was a way that Kenyans cried to kick Adan out of the country. So President William Ruto and his colleagues lose billions and billions of shillings, and even trillions, if I may say so. But now they want to make sure that they cover for the money lost. And to cover for the money lost is to have their friends rule certain departments that generate and Kenyans pumps billions into them, because if there is anything that everybody seeks and prays for in this republic, is getting being held. And if that fails, and a population that does not have the correct healthcare system is a population that is doomed. Is a population that won't concentrate on development. It will concentrate on to get better medical, to get better healthcare systems, to get better treatment. And Duale is not the person for that. The question is, why couldn't President William Ruto reshuffle Mutahi Kagwe for Dr. Deborah Mulongo? Move Deborah Mulongo from the docket of health to the to the agriculture, and then put Mutahi Kagwe in the docket of health, which is a docket that Mutahi Kagwe served in the previous regime and didn't deliver to the fullest. That is the question. It's because Mutahi Kagwe doesn't have business interest to secure under the healthcare docket, but Duale has. What is your take? A comment on the comment section.